I signed up for this. It's my first time here. And every question that I wanted to ask is been answered to me. And just for the heck of it, I just raised my hand.
We want to explain something to you. So what happens, this process of being called forward is the same process as the deliberate creation of anything. There has to be a good balance between the vibration of your desire and the vibration of your expectation, the vibration, your current active vibration. So when your current active vibration is in the vicinity of your desire, then there's a perfect match and you light up. You light up not just to us to help you in the manifestation, but you light up to the universe, who is then able to yield to you another path, another path, another path. So when we look into this room, we're not looking at individual faces, at individual personalities. We are seeing you as energy. And when that energy is in alignment, you light up. That's why it's easy for us to say, this is the specific one that we are reaching for. And we thought it was a good idea for you to feel what it feels like. You see, the last conversation, that's the best conversation that we could ever have with anyone in a forum like this, because it was a person sincere with strong desire and a willingness to do whatever it takes to come into, are you taking a bow? Is that what it's to come into vibrational alignment. And in the process of that dialogue, anyone who remained outside the vortex is sort of a lost cause. There are no lost causes, but if you're ever going to have something to focus upon that's going to entertain you into alignment, that is it. And so given, it had all the right elements, you see. So given the power of your desire and the moment, we wanted to amplify for you what it feels like to be there and there, you see. And that's all. Now just watch for those moments and on you go.
And as soon as you point at me,
you didn't want it. As soon as
it wasn't that I didn't want it. I couldn't believe it.
Well, you went a little dark immediately. When you stood up, it was like, oh, what have I done?
Exactly.
But that's because you began second guessing yourself, you
Absolutely.
see. And we want you to remember the first feeling. You were there. And that's the point of the vortex. Finding that feeling and then milking it a little. And then finding that feeling and then milking it a little, you see. And we are very happy to hear from you that what you've come asking for was already answered, and there will be more coming as we are moving forward.
And in the process from walking from the chair to here, it was like, for me, I got so much clarity about how it all works. I want to always to ask you. I listened to your tapes for years, but I always wanted to ask you, and then I have so many things, and then all of a sudden from there to here, it is here you are, is get in the vortex, trust yourself, believe yourself, whatever it is, and now what am I going to do?
And that's beautiful.
And then I'm here to say that, because I forgot all my questions, I got an answer and whatever, and I'm here because I wanted to be here.
And because words don't teach, it is life experience, and that knowing is worth all of the words that we could exchange, isn't it? Yes, very good.
Thank you.
Wahoo! I heard something really profound in the opening today, and I'd like more clarification of it. For me and everyone here, you brought up the idea of you can't control your thoughts, you control your vibration. And I've had conversations before about...
Yes. Let us clarify something a little bit here, and then we want to go right where you're headed. And that is, it's easier to control general thoughts than specific thoughts.
Yes.
Now think about that, because the more specific your thought is, the more active it is, and the more stuff like it's gathering. While the more general the thought is, the easier it is to move. So that's why when we said control your feeling, which means find a thought that's easy to feel good about. In other words, the thought always precedes the feeling, but if your emphasis is upon the feeling, now you can make faster progress.
Well, we had talked once about feeling it forward, and it seemed like a similar concept.
It is.
And I've always enjoyed the ability to work up the emotional scale and choose thoughts that feel better and better and better. And kind of, I'm an intellectual guy, and I was kind of, so being a feeling.
But when you think about working your way up the emotional scale, in full disclosure, really, where are you usually starting?
Usually kind of frustrated.
Yeah. So you're already well along the scale.
Yeah.
Before you start. And that was the point that we were making today. In other words, now, in frustration, any resistance is already pretty general.
Soft, yeah.
Yes.
The feeling it forward through the day, bless you all and everyone for attracting the meditation CDs, because they've transformed how I feel day to day. So thank you so much. And I thank you, Thomas, for bringing it to yourself. I have to take credit for allowing it into my life. And in the prosperity track, it talks about it. We can convince you that prosperity is an emotional journey, and I know that in every fiber of my being. And if we can feel the feeling of prosperity and allow it to come, that's where my mind wanders, and I'm like,
well, that's an interesting thing.
Yes.
Because for those who haven't heard this meditation CD, we want to just give you a little bit of background about it. So the presentation is some music that is presented at a sort of odd canter. And the goal of the process is to focus upon the music and figure out how to sync your breath to it. But the music will guide you to breathing that is different from what you are accustomed to. It asks for 3 long breaths in and then 5 shorter breaths out. So it's different, which requires focus. And as you focus upon the music, and ultimately will feel successful when you find yourself syncing with it, you manage to disassociate from resistant thoughts, which puts you in a vibrational place where you then begin hearing our words, which are speaking how you really feel from inside the vortex and what the source within you knows about everything that is important to you. So while that is playing and you are in a state of detachment from resistance, if you are really up to speed with what source is saying to you, you feel the alignment. When you find your mind wandering or chattering, what that means is there's some resistance within you on those subjects, and you've just unearthed it, which is really a wonderful thing, because the goal of the process is to feel the comfort of it, to feel the ease of it. And if anything less than that is happening, then there's some resistance that has surfaced. So that's one of the powerful things about the specific words that we have chosen. The words that we have chosen, while they are general in nature, if you have resistance, as some of them are spoken, the resistance will show itself to you.
Yeah.
As you focus then on your breathing, instead of trying to resolve why you are feeling the resistance, now the vortex is training you into vibrational compliance with the higher vibration. In other words, literally, and we are careful as we say this to some of you, the process will do the work for you if you will just subject yourself to it. Because you just can't listen to this and apply your focus on syncing with the music without eventually coming into complete vibrational alignment with what Source knows about you on all subjects that matter.
So carrying that forward, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate the releasing of thoughts and going back to the breathing and the music and since I'm here asking, sometimes I find if I count those 3 breaths in and 5 breaths out, that clears my mind some, or just counting.
Esther does it every time,
Okay.
usually about halfway through each of the meditations, because it's the way she assures herself of being with the music. And then she'll find herself doing it easily. And almost in every meditation, at some point or other, she loses her place with it, because it is something that requires focus.
Mm-hmm. I'm still amazed at how, when I open my eyes at the end, look out it's usually my office, look out at the lake, and I realize how high my vibration is anyone. And man, I've made a lot of progress, haven't I? Wow. Because I've moved up the vibrational scale a lot during this. Even though my mind wanders, it still moves. I still move a lot with it.
There's no ending. That recording you will never outlive the power of that recording.
Yeah, it's amazing. So carrying it forward into, I often have conversations about practicality, about what I do day to day, taking care of patients, and you give me some very clear practical guidelines, which I have floundered with because of my resistance about taking 5 minutes before each case, before I bring the person in. And I'm trying to find a more organic way to feel forward through the day, whether it's taking care of things at home, going running, paying bills, working in the office.
Well, mostly just trust. Say to yourself, because of all of the combination of things that I am doing, I'm aware of how I feel and I care about it. Mm-hmm. I'm tuning to the vortex every day and benefiting from it. My vibration is raising, which makes me more aware of vibrations that counter it. So my goal, especially when I'm interacting with clients who are clearly mostly outside the vortex, my goal is to be able to reach them from where I am. And there's no risk, because if I step out to take them by the hand, I know how to get back in. And that's true of your parenting. It's true of your neighboring. It's true of your lovering. It's true of everything. In other words, there is no one who has been assigned the responsibility of remaining forevermore in your vortex. The vortex is this living, moving, evolving creation that you are leaning in the direction of always. And the destination really isn't the vortex. The destination is leaning in the direction of it.
Keep moving towards it.
If you could ever catch up and be everything that's in your vortex, boredom would come forth immediately, you see. It's the reaching for it. Don't you love adventure? Don't you love to feel alive? Jerry will say to Esther, especially if there is something bothering her, like this book launch, he will say, we are always molding our life into place. And Esther will say specifically, but it feels like we failed on something that really mattered. And Jerry will say, there is no failure. We're always just molding things into place. We're molding things into place. It is the molding that is the fun. Once the statue is finished, it dries out and doesn't matter. It's the molding. It's the molding that is fun. And so nothing is more delicious than to sit in that meditation and feel your mind wandering and realize you've uncovered a little aggravation, and then breathe yourself back into alignment. Nothing is more satisfying to be having a conversation with someone you love and recognize it's not going well, and then just step into a general place and watch it right itself. In other words, it's the molding of life that is fun. You didn't say, I'll be born into a body and I'll get it done. Not one of you said that. Yeah. You said, I'll be born into a body and I'll figure out what I want, and I'll joyfully move in the direction of my never-ending discoveries of who I am.
So help me understand I can feel the resonance and the affirmation of that, going in and out of it all day, that I'm in and out of the vortex a lot more than ever. And I appreciate all the tools that I've learned with you guys.
We would put that differently.
Yeah.
You're not in and out of the vortex more than ever. Uh-huh. You're more aware when you're not in than you've ever been.
Yes. So I know how to get in.
You're in the vortex much more than you have ever been.
Yes.
Much more than you've ever been.
and acknowledge that feeling. Here it is for me. I know what it feels like in the vortex, and I don't know what the words are. And you know what? I realize I just know what the feeling is, and I don't know the words.
It's because it's beyond anything that's manifested. And the feeling is calling you to the specifics. So, isn't that good? So when you say, fantastic. I know the feeling of it, but I don't know the words of it, we say, hang in there, the words will come. And they'll sound like the perfect timing of appreciation to someone in a perfect moment, and you'll feel it ripple through you, and you'll know. It will feel like an idea coming to you seemingly out of nowhere. That's the perfect solution to what you're looking for, and it will ripple through you, and you will know.
And that's inspiration, and I know what that feels like. The inspiration to take the action
feeling
or
of
say things.
The feeling of the vortex is calling you to the specifics of the manifestation.